going.
My name is Marshall Young, and I am presenting on electronic prosthetic technology. What comes to mind when I say electronic prosthetic technology? Anything you think of. Cyborgs?
What about like one of those legs that do like these? Would that be one?
I can't hear you.
Like one of those prosthetic legs, I guess? Would that be one?
Yeah. Well, pop culture has some good references for this. You can see a lot of developmental technology from prosthetics in movies, and here are a few examples. There's quite a few. Star Wars, Star Trek, the good RoboCop, Evil Dead, probably one of the most funny movies of all time, and Justice League more recently. So what is it? It's just an electronically operated artificial body part. So someone loses a limb or they're born without one, they can use that prosthetic to actually regain most of the functionality that they lost. So why should we care? That's quite a lot of people that have lost a limb. It's 2.1 million people have lost at least one in 2017, and it's projected to double by 2050. And you can see that pretty significant rate annually and daily. So one of the major types of prosthetics are autonomous ones. These are very limited input and very limited functionality, but they're mostly used in leg-type prosthetics because they're simpler than obviously trying to operate them on. They're just either a knee or a powered ankle. So they work by having a desired action. They have a microcontroller that will actually interpret the action based on how your clinician will actually set up your prosthetic specific to you because they are hand fitted. But it will determine how much force is delivered through the prosthetic and actually enable for you to walk. Here's a few examples. The powered ankle. This just delivers force horizontally to push you off that way. And this is just a prosthetic knee. It just gives you rotational force in order to move. And there's a walking example of that.
I thought it would be cool to answer a few questions about the Autobot C-Leg 4 microprocessor knee because I had a few people approach me and ask me questions about it. So why not demonstrate it? So the cool thing, starting off with the C-Leg 4, is that it provides you an ample amount of support as you're walking on flat level surfaces, both forwards and walking backwards. As you can see, the hydraulic resistance is holding me up, supporting my body weight. The way it's able to do this is it has a gyroscope in it, so it virtually knows where it's at in three-dimensional space. So I can walk forward, stop, and I can walk backwards really quick. Take big steps walking backwards, and it's going to be there to support you. The other cool thing is the intuitive stance lock feature. And what this does is if you get tired, your back hurts, and you want to rest a little bit, you just lean up against a wall or post or something, and they automatically lock. And the only trick to getting out of this is to just stand up and start walking. So I'll show that again, and even go a little bit deeper this time. And as you can see, the knee holds you at a pretty deep angle here. I feel like I'm sitting in a chair. And again, getting up, just getting up and walking. So the other thing to touch on is ramps. So alignment with ramps is a very key part, and your prosthetist or clinician will set the knee up with the right componentry and settings. So this is, taking little steps, really controlling the knee. I'll go back up and I'll do that again. Again, taking little steps, really controlling the knee.
So that's pretty impressive just for having basic software and hardware. Losing both legs is pretty serious, but as you can see, he can get around fairly adequately without a wheelchair or any type of assistance at all. So the next major category are myoelectric prosthetics. They're usually run by a system of EMG, which is just measuring a waveform of muscle impulses in order to determine a pattern that the prosthetic can use to actually perform an action. Most of the time they're just implanted on the skin, so I'm not too keen on wheels. And most of the prosthetics just use surface EMGs. There's an example of the waveform. You could use this particular pattern here, and that will be associated with either an open motion or a closing motion to grasp something or to let go of a bottle of water, something like that. Or in myoelectric legs, it would just be rotational force of a knee to move and walk, but you get the gist, right? So whenever they deal with a waveform, it has to be amplified and filtered in order for the microcontroller or microprocessor to actually know what that particular EMG reading was. And that's just the same thing. All it is just interpretation of a waveform in order to send machine instructions to operate motors, to operate a mechanism.
More than 13 years since I'm an amputee. Just put it on and just roll into this little suspension cuff. It's from Toughwear Prosthetics, and it allows me to have full range of motion, get my hands in my mouth, scratch the back of my neck, reach behind me, and I can even capture some pronation and supination, which I could never do in any of the other hands I tried before. Forearm shell, it's a carbon fiber outer layer with a flexible inner socket, completely comfortable, perfect intimate fit, and great little battery switch on the side that even gives me an indication about how much battery life is still available. And then the hand is a Bionic 3 from Sneaker USA. Beyond just doing the standard open and close, this hand is capable of doing 10 different distinct grip patterns. As the user, I can select 8 of those patterns, and to change the grip pattern, right now I'm going to try power grip. So I bring the hand fully open, set an extra open signal, there's my power grip, move the thumb, that tucks the thumb to get into the coat sleeve. There's a key grip to hold the plate in the fade line. Touch the button on the back of the hand and gets me to the next 4 grips. It's a mouse grip for the computer. Index point, also good for the keypad on the computer. Move the thumb, precision pinch. And this one's active index penetrating to a spray line. Back to the beginning. So I'd like to thank the guys, the entire team at Prosthetic.
So just recapturing a lot of the functionality with a myoelectric prosthetic. I mean, just with that, even if you cannot feel through the prosthetic, you're gaining the majority of what you lost back through technology. So neural prosthetics, what comes to mind when you think of neural prosthetics?
Linked to the brain through a PCI device or through nerve endings.
You'd be right when you say nerve endings, yeah. More specifically, it's through neurons, which is just a specialized type of cell that will transmit an electrical impulse machinery will capture and use to actually interpret into an action for the prosthetic. Here's two specific types. This is a cochlear implant that will restore a pretty good amount of what you've lost if you have good neural connections, but the part of the ear that actually is a bristly type part of the ear that picks up the actual sound waves, this takes the place of that, and it is near perfect to what the human ear is. The Argus 2 isn't really all that impressive, but it is impressive when you consider you're going from complete darkness to basic shapes, silhouettes, grayscale, basically, black and white images. And they basically work the same way. You're just taking stimulus, you're capturing it somehow, turns it into a waveform, a pattern that a microcontroller or microprocessor can understand, and then send instructions down the line into the particular components to actually transmit information to the brain, so you can actually regain function. Same thing, works almost the same way between the eye and the cochlear implant, but you're just getting video and audio. See, it's not really impressive, but it will help you get through a door. You can make out shapes, which is actually more useful than you would think. Here's a couple examples.
Target. Impressive enough feat under normal circumstances, but in this case, it's remarkable, because this man is completely blind. Joran Perk, who lost his sight at the age of 11, is only the second person in the Netherlands to be fitted with a bionic eye. The implant, officially known as the Argos 2 retinal prosthesis system, is made up of a miniature camera, a transmitting chip, a plate with 60 electrodes implanted in the eye, and a time computer. Bionic eye works by converting video captured by the glasses into pulses of electricity that stimulate healthy retinal cells, where us see colours and shapes.
Many things have changed in my life for the better since I used Argus 2. I've become more confident, and I can do more things and visualise more things.
Dr. Marco Mura, who carried out the implant procedure on Perk, says he hopes the new technology will soon benefit other visually impaired patients.
Or, like, did that sound closer?
Yeah.
That's it.
Wow.
Really playing back and forth a couple times.
So the video example here of the girl being tested and fitted for a cochlear implant is just going through different samples of audio files in order to match the comparison between the human ear, what the actual human ear can actually hear exactly, including distortions and minute differences between the audio. But it's nearly identical. It's very, very, very close, which is super impressive. So the next portion of this technology is electronic skin, which is seeking to restore the sense of touch. Amputees obviously lose when they lose a limb. It works through two separate layers. One will be devoted to sensing pressure, heat, and the other will be up to sensing pain. So machine learning prosthetics are pretty impressive because they make more accurate movements because they will seek to predict what the user intends to do more accurately. Probably the culmination, the best example of electronic prosthetics would be the MPL. It's developed through a DARPA program, mostly aimed at restoring arms to the military.
Modular prosthetic limb, or MPL, interprets and converts signals from the body's nervous system to motion. When the MPL interacts with an object, signals from over 100 sensors send information back to the brain, creating a sense of touch.
These are very expensive. This one costs hundreds of thousands of dollars. But at the end of the day, we really want to get this out so people can use it in everyday life. So what's unique about Melissa is that we'll be able to actually feed back our sensory information at a level that we haven't been able to do before. That is really going to move this to an entirely new level.
So you've been quoted saying that Melissa is a very special case, very rare. Can you explain?
Yeah, we ended up doing a surgery. It's called targeted muscle reinnervation. It's a type of surgery that allows an amputee to use their brain to operate a bionic or prosthetic arm. If she wants to open her hand, she just thinks, open my hand. Now, the part that's never been done here in the U.S. was to try to get someone to feel their prosthetic hand. The targeted sensory reinnervation. You get a prosthetic arm, you can't feel. You can't hold somebody's hand and feel that touch. So what I ended up doing was finding the nerve that gives you feeling. And I took that, basically attached it to her skin here and here. And the idea is that if that nerve gives you feeling here, her brain will think that her fingers are actually here.
Because of her surgery, the quality of sensory signals Melissa receives are better than anything tested before with the bionic limb. We accompanied Melissa as she used the prosthetic limb for the first time.
Basically, they just put sensors around my arm that could read my muscle patterns, and then I would do the movements with my imaginary arm, and the machine would recognize the muscle patterns, and then the arm would do those motions afterwards.
One main movement weird, right? That's okay. This is the first time it's hearing those muscle patterns.
So the conclusion is, what can you accomplish with software and hardware? It's pretty amazing what you can do. Most of modern technology is just software and hardware put together. And how close are these prosthetics to what you know from pop culture? And that'll conclude the presentation. Any questions?